Most gardeners spend money every single month on fertilizers and soil amendments without realizing that certain fruit trees already thrive in poor, depleted soil, completely ignored by most people. Commercial fertilizers are convenient, but expensive, unreliable, and increasingly out of reach. Meanwhile, these trees evolved to survive where nothing else will. Not in perfect garden beds, but in forgotten, exhausted ground. In this video, 10 fruit trees that need no fertilizer, grow in poor soil, and produce abundantly, that almost nobody plants. Here's what nobody tells you. You've probably tried growing fruit trees before. You amended the soil, added fertilizer, followed every instruction, and still watch them struggle, yellow, and barely produce. The problem isn't your effort. The problem isn't even your soil. The problem is you were sold the wrong trees for the wrong conditions. Most commercial nurseries push varieties that demand rich soil and constant feeding, because that keeps you buying inputs season after season. These 10 trees were never part of that system, and that's exactly why nobody talks about them. Today I'm revealing 10 fruit trees that thrive in poor, depleted, even rocky soil with zero fertilizer input. Trees that feed themselves, fix their own nutrients, and still produce abundantly year after year. Stay until the end, because tree number 10 is the one most people have never even heard of. Yet it outproduces everything else on this list in the worst soil conditions imaginable. If you love growing food the natural way, subscribe. This channel is built entirely for you. But before we start, if you're tired of spending hours in the garden, pulling weeds and constantly watering plants, I created something just for you. My ebook, The Lazy Gardener's 30-Minute Garden, shows you simple systems that make gardening easier, smarter, and way less work. Just click the link in the description below and download your copy today. Let's start with number 1. Number 1, the mulberry tree. Mulberry is one of the most forgiving fruit trees on earth. It doesn't ask for rich soil, regular feeding, or careful attention. It simply grows, spreads, and produces more fruit than most families can consume. Here's the mechanism. Mulberry develops an extraordinarily deep, aggressive root system that mines nutrients from layers of soil most trees never reach. It doesn't need you to feed it. It feeds itself. What most people don't know, mulberry was historically planted along roadsides and field edges precisely because it thrived where nothing else would. Farmers didn't fertilize it. They just let it grow. Practical note: plant in full sun, water only during establishment, then walk away. It will handle the rest. Number 2, the fig tree. Fig is ancient, resilient, and almost offensively easy to grow in poor conditions. In its native Mediterranean habitat, it grows directly out of rocky limestone hillsides. Soil so thin and nutrient depleted that nothing else survives there. The mechanism. Fig trees form deep symbiotic relationships with soil fungi that dramatically expand their nutrient uptake. No fertilizer required. The worse the soil, the deeper the roots reach. Unexpected fact: fig trees deliberately stressed by poor soil actually produce sweeter, more concentrated fruit than those grown in rich, amended beds. Practical note: avoid overwatering. Fig punishes comfort. Neglect produces better results than care. Number 3, the persimmon tree. Persimmon is perhaps the most underplanted fruit tree in the world, and one of the most drought and poor soil tolerant of all. Its root system is unusually efficient at extracting phosphorus from depleted ground, the nutrient most lacking in exhausted soils. It doesn't compete, it adapts. Remarkable fact, native persimmon varieties were a primary food source for indigenous communities across North America, specifically because they produced reliably in untreated, unamended woodland soil for centuries. Practical note: plant once, mulch lightly at the base, and expect your first meaningful harvest within 3 years without a single bag of fertilizer. Number 4. The autumn olive. Autumn olive is one of the most nutritionally powerful, soil-independent fruit shrub trees you can plant, and almost nobody in mainstream gardening talks about it. The mechanism is remarkable. Autumn olive is a nitrogen-fixing tree. Its roots form active partnerships with bacteria that pull nitrogen directly from the air and deposit it into the surrounding soil. It doesn't consume soil fertility, it creates it. Unexpected fact: a single mature autumn olive can fix enough atmospheric nitrogen to actually improve the soil quality of everything planted around it. It feeds itself and its neighbors simultaneously. Practical note: plant it in your most exhausted, neglected corner. Within 2 seasons, surrounding soil will measurably improve. It is not just a fruit tree, it is a soil rehabilitation system. Number 5. The jujube tree. Jujube has been cultivated for over 4,000 years across Central Asia and China, almost entirely in arid, poor, alkaline soils that defeat every other fruit tree. The mechanism: jujube operates with extraordinary water and nutrient efficiency. Its cellular structure allows it to thrive on minimal inputs, producing sweet, apple-like fruit even in conditions that would kill a standard orchard tree within 1 season. Unexpected fact: ancient Silk Road traders planted jujube along trade routes through desert regions specifically because it required no maintenance and produced reliable food in the harshest conditions imaginable. Practical note: jujube actively dislikes rich, over-amended soil. Plant it poor, plant it dry, and it will reward you for decades. Number 6. The elderberry. Elderberry grows wild along roadsides, field margins, and disturbed ground worldwide, which tells you everything about its relationship with poor soil. The mechanism: elderberry is a pioneer species. It evolved specifically to colonize depleted, compacted, and nutrient-thin ground before other plants can establish. Poor soil is not its limitation, it is its natural habitat. Unexpected fact: elderberry produces its highest concentration of antioxidants and medicinal compounds when grown in leaner soil conditions. Stress triggers the tree's defensive chemistry, which is precisely what makes the berry so valuable. Practical note: plant along a fence line or field edge, water occasionally through the first summer, then leave it entirely alone. Number 7. The pomegranate tree. Pomegranate has thrived for thousands of years across the driest, most mineral-depleted soils of the Middle East and North Africa. Soils that would be classified as agriculturally worthless by modern standards. The mechanism: pomegranate possesses an unusually efficient vascular system that conserves water and extracts trace minerals from rocky, alkaline ground with remarkable precision. It is biologically optimized for scarcity. Unexpected fact: archaeological evidence shows pomegranate orchards flourishing in ancient Mesopotamia in soils so poor that modern agronomists would refuse to plant anything there without heavy amendment. It has been outperforming expectations for 5,000 years. Practical note: plant in the sunniest, most neglected spot in your yard. Sandy, rocky, even slightly saline soil is perfectly acceptable. fertilizer will actually reduce fruit quality by pushing excessive leafy growth at the expense of fruit production. Number 8. The sea buckthorn. Sea buckthorn is one of the most nutrient-dense fruits on Earth, and it grows most aggressively in the poorest, sandiest, most coastal soils available. The mechanism, like autumn olive, sea buckthorn is a nitrogen fixer. Its root nodules actively convert atmospheric nitrogen into plant-available form, meaning it continuously rebuilds the soil it grows in while simultaneously producing fruit. Unexpected fact: sea buckthorn is used extensively in land rehabilitation projects across China and Central Asia to reclaim severely eroded, desertified land, because it thrives where nothing else will establish. Practical note: plant male and female trees together for fruit production. Beyond that, it requires almost nothing from you or your soil. Number 9. The quince tree. Quince is one of the oldest cultivated fruit trees in human history and one of the most consistently overlooked by modern gardeners, despite being extraordinarily easy to grow in difficult conditions. The mechanism: quince develops a deep, flexible root system that adapts readily to clay-heavy, waterlogged, and nutrient-poor soils that would suffocate most standard fruit trees. It tolerates conditions that defeat apple, pear, and plum without hesitation. Unexpected fact: quince was the primary orchard tree across medieval European homesteads, not because it was fashionable, but because it produced reliably year after year in untreated, unimproved village soils when everything else failed. Practical note: if your soil drains poorly and sits wet through winter, conditions most fruit trees cannot survive. Quince is your answer. Number 10. The moringa tree. Moringa is called the miracle tree for a reason, and that reason has nothing to do with marketing. It grows in pure sand, cracked, baked, mineral-stripped tropical soil that produces nothing else. No fertilizer, no irrigation after establishment, no input whatsoever. The mechanism: moringa fixes its own nutrients, grows up to 3 meters in its first year, and produces edible leaves, pods, and seeds continuously in conditions that would kill every other tree on this list. Almost nobody in temperate gardening talks about it. They should. If you're still watching, you already think differently than most gardeners. Most people will spend another season buying fertilizer bags, amending soil, and wondering why their trees struggle. You're here learning why none of that was ever necessary. Stay until the end, because what's coming next is the single most important reason these trees get deliberately ignored by the commercial nursery industry. And once you understand it, you'll never look at a garden center the same way again. If this is useful, subscribe. This channel exists entirely for people like you. Imagine spending just 30 minutes a day in your garden and still harvesting more vegetables, herbs, and flowers than ever before. That's exactly what I show you inside the Lazy Gardener's 30-Minute Garden. Click the link in the description below and grab your copy today so you can start your low-effort garden system right away. Here's what the fertilizer industry never wants you to realize. These 10 trees don't just grow without fertilizer, they make fertilizer inputs completely irrelevant. If every gardener knew this, the soil amendment market would collapse overnight. There is no product to sell you, no annual input to reorder, no dependency to maintain. Commercial nurseries stock what generates repeat purchases, not what sets you free from repeat purchases. This knowledge isn't secret. It's just not monetizable. And that's exactly why it stays quietly off the shelf, season after season. I've grown 5 of these trees in exhausted, compacted soil. No amendments, no fertilizer, no special treatment. By year 2, the mulberry was producing more fruit than my family could eat. By year 3, the fig and persimmon needed nothing from me whatsoever. The soil around my autumn olive visibly darkened within 18 months, richer than when I started, without a single bag of compost added. These aren't theories. They are observable, repeatable outcomes in genuinely poor ground. Plant 1 this season. The soil you're embarrassed about is exactly the soil they prefer. These trees are more than just fruit producers. They are a quiet argument against dependency, proof that nature already solved the problems we keep paying industries to fix for us. Every one of these trees was known, planted, and relied upon by people who had no fertilizer, no garden centers, and no amendments. They had only observation and patience. That knowledge didn't disappear. It just stopped being profitable to teach. Your depleted soil isn't a problem to fix. In the hands of the right tree, it is exactly enough. If this video gave you something useful, like it, share it with someone who's been told their soil isn't good enough to grow fruit trees. Because now you both know better. Comment below, which of these 10 trees are you already growing? Or which one are you planting first this season? Subscribe if you want more content built around growing food naturally, without expensive inputs or unnecessary dependencies. See you in the next video. If you found this video helpful, then you'll love the full system I put together in my ebook, The Lazy Gardener's 30-Minute Garden. Inside the book, I show you the exact daily 30-minute routine, low-maintenance garden layouts, and the plant once crops that keep producing for years. So if you want a garden that grows more food and flowers with less work, click the link in the description below and grab your copy today.